G'day. I thought I'd talk about polypipe a little bit today, and I discovered something quite interesting about this polypipe. There's a section of it from there to there, probably 3-4 meters of mains pressure polypipe with the blue stripes on it. Pretty sure that's mains pressure, and it's connected to older type of polypipe. This older polypipe, including the connector there, was originally installed into this property, and it's 1 inch in diameter in the old scale. It's kind of pre-decimal in Australia, or it's imperial, I guess. And anyway, this section had roots. It was lifted up by roots, and they're the roots there. Those pretty big things were in the ground. They were in the ground, and they kind of lifted it up and started cracking that old style polypipe, the black polypipe. And so anyway, I dug the roots out, and then I found another leak further up here because the ground was damp. So I figured there was another leak, and sure enough, once I exposed the old polypipe, I found another leak. But anyway, I bought quite a bit of this blue stripe mains pressure polypipe because I figure that this is actually mains pressure water here. It's town water on a country property in Tasmania. And anyway, I discovered something quite interesting joining these two bits of pipe together. Yeah, what I found with this polypipe, there's the old polypipe, a small section of it, and anyway, here's a newer type one, and it's thicker and it's wider. The outer diameter is quite a bit wider. That's how much wider. So it's kind of not really compatible, but where the compatibility lies is in the hole in the middle. The hole in the middle accepts this type of connector, both types. So there it is there, and even going back to some really old connector here, which works in both. That's a tight fit in there, and it's a tight fit in there. It works with both types. And so what I found was that the external diameter has increased with this polypipe, and there doesn't seem to be a direct replacement for this so-called 1 inch polypipe. I think the 1 inch applies to that inner diameter, to that diameter there. I think that's what it applies to. And yeah, I don't think there's an exact replacement because it's thicker. So alright, what I discovered was, I thought maybe I can connect the newer polypipe to the older style fitting. So I thought I'd try it, and this is what I found. Now here, this can go onto there. The old style fitting can go on. Now it is tight, and it's because that part of the actual screw-on type fitting is a bit more narrow. It's actually designed for the old stuff, but it's pretty easy to just take a little bit out of there just by sort of filing that off around there slightly, and it makes no difference. It's quite smooth around there. It makes no difference to the actual seal, because that doesn't really seal anything. Because how these things work is this insert, this is the old style insert, by the way, goes into there. I won't knock it all the way in because then I won't be able to get this out. Plus, yeah, and also in the original design it has this is a compression ring. Yeah, I'd call it a compression ring, and it's designed that the wider side, the flat side, goes up against this, goes up against that. So if it's inside the pipe, I'll put this on how it's supposed to go. It's supposed to go like that, and so the compression ring pushes up against there, and by pushing it up against that face there, it's actually squeezing it into the housing of whatever it is. It could be a right angle housing, or it could be a straight coupling housing like this. So it goes in like that. This thing tightens up, and as it tightens up, it's keeping that insert waterproof, because the insert's got an O-ring, so that keeps it waterproof. But what I found was the part that didn't work. I've got where's my gloves? This is it's quite a bit of a workout getting these things in and out. Anyway, the part that didn't work was actually this part, and the reason is that that part is, once it's on the pipe, it expands because it's open at one end. It expands slightly, and it's too tight. It's too tight to actually, for this to actually travel along the pipe and then screw onto the coupling. It's just too tight. So what I found was this piece here, which is from the newer type. Now here's the newer type here. This is a Plason, this is called. Look inside, and it's the same sort of design. It's just that it's got a different type of compression ring, and it is open too. The compression ring is open. So anyway, getting back to this, I'll knock it together. What I did, because I'm using the newer pipe on the old fitting. So get that on. That's on. Then I take the newer type compression and put it on the same way, which is the thin part goes towards the end of this screw on. Then that's I'll just knock that in there. What have I got? I haven't got my hammer with me today. So there, that's how it sort of goes. It's been knocked in all the way, and then this screws out onto it. Now the fact that it's open doesn't matter. The compression ring still works because it's putting pressure in that direction, which then goes into there. So I'll put that piece in. So that's in there, that's fully mated to there, and this, as you can see, this slides all the way over that and then starts screwing onto there. Now if I use the original compression ring, it doesn't work because there's not enough room in there to actually screw this thing. So anyway, what I did was I screwed it all the way and then turned the water back on at the mains down there and left it. I've left it for pretty much 24 hours. So we're actually using this water. Left it for 24 hours. There's no leak whatsoever from this coupling, and also the T coupling there. There's two couplings. There's a T junction and one of these straight junctions. Neither of them are leaking, and that's how I fixed it. So I've actually joined one to the other. Excuse me. The reason I think that's a good idea is because in this location we can get quite heavy frosts, and if the water in these things freezes overnight, it can split the pipes. And also tree roots can split the pipes. And that's been a problem this year because we had a big lot of rain in one go. We had close to 200 mils in 24 hours. And after that, because it was summertime, everything just took off and just plants grew tremendously fast. And yeah, they have broken some of these pipes. And the problem with the pipes need to be in the ground because they can freeze, and burying them makes them more secure, and so and protects them from freezing. And so burying them's a good idea, but then that exposes them to tree roots, which you can't really do much about because we like having trees around here. So and there is a lot of this type of piping here. In fact, it was all the way from the meter everywhere. It was right across the house up to taps. There'd be hundreds of meters of this stuff here on this property, with connections, junctions, taps, bends, 90-degree angles. These T-junctions, 90-degree angles. In fact, that's all of that. That's what I've saved up just from working on these things over the years. There's lots of them. Now the original brand name was Filmac on these, and I kind of remember seeing Filmac on the equipment, and I think that's still available, but I'm not really sure whether they still make it or not. There are two or three variables that have come into play. One of them is we've moved away from Imperial, now on metric, so they're metric, and there's also design standards where they need to carry mains pressure. You can see how thick that pipe is there compared to the original ones. They still carried main pressure, but they were never really, maybe the main pressure increased. A lot of these things are consumer driven. Consumers want to turn on a tap in their house and just have high pressure water coming out of it, regardless of where they are and whatever. It's just that is, and a lot of modern equipment is designed to run solely on mains pressure, like hot water systems and dishwashers and stuff. So yeah, your piping's got to be pretty good. So rather than digging up every single bit of hundreds of meters of this type of old style poly pipe, I decided to just repair it as I go. Like as it leaked, I would repair it with something newer. So I've bought quite a bit of this. I mean, I haven't got hundreds of meters of this stuff, but I've got a fair bit of it, and I can repair it for quite a while without having to buy more of it. And I'm actually, overall, I'm improving the quality of the water supply system here on this property. So anyway, that's what I found. Just a matter of just swapping that for that. And also, there are different ones of these. Because there are different manufacturers, I've found there are different. This is the one I use with these smaller lugs. This one's got larger lugs. It's some sort of, maybe another manufacturer or another application. Well, there's three different types of the same compression ring. There's probably more different types of it. There's an earlier type. These all do the same thing. Possibly the black one would have worked, but anyway, I've gone with that one. Another funny thing about these is it's possible to have two of these close together, which is a sort of a problem, because say if you had two breaks, you might have repaired it. So it looks like that. Yeah, it looks like that, but what happens is if you're tightening up one of them, you're untightening the other one. So it's not a good idea to have that. It's better to actually replace a whole length, which is what I did over there, so that you're not untightening one as you're tightening the other. You can also tighten them against each other. I'll show you how that is. That just goes like that. You can actually, I've actually done a lot just with my bare hands, just screwing that one in and screwing that one in until they meet. Other times I will I'll hold the centerpiece with a big pair of pliers, big shifting spanner, and just tighten them up with these multi-grips. If you're doing any of this sort of work, I highly recommend getting a pair of these multi-grips. They can expand beautifully onto any sort of large screw type surface. Yeah, there's some interesting things about this property. It's very steep. Like, I'm only halfway up this hill, and because it's a steep hill, you've really got to leave vegetation here. If you don't, the hill can slide down during heavy rain, and now you don't know when you're going to get heavy rain. It only goes to a tap, but I use that tap a fair bit, and that continues on. I try to protect it. In fact, it was very rocky up here. This was dug out by a dozer, and there's sort of a exposed bedrock, you'd think you'd call it. So what I did was, because I couldn't bury it, I've put it in old metal pipe, and also plastic pipe as well, just to protect it. And there was a pump here at one stage. I've still got electricity here, and I use this area for making concrete, so I've kind of used this area a bit. But as I was saying, with the trees, I think the tree roots have come from this tree, which is a kind of it's a pine. I think it's it's a native pine tree. Yeah, its roots have just gone crazy here and lifted the pipe up, and I don't know. I don't think I'd be bothered felling this tree. That's where I cut. That's the actual root, just there, that I cut off. So I've given myself a few years before that root grows back in there, or maybe it'll send down another root.